All righty. Welcome. I am Heather Pierce Campbell, the legal website warrior. I'm an attorney and legal coach based here in Seattle, Washington, serving online information entrepreneurs throughout the US and the world. Welcome to another episode of Guts, Grit, and Great Business. I'm super excited to welcome my friend Alecia St. Germain today. Welcome, Alecia.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for reaching out and chasing me down.
Well, we were just talking about how much time has passed because you and I connected towards the very start of COVID. It's been a
Uh-huh.
hot minute. And I just remember really enjoying our connection. And you were hosting a summit at the time. I don't even remember what we talked about. I just remember being like, I like Alecia. I want to somehow stay in her world. And then as it happens, like things go a little crazy. But somehow, maybe I saw an email, I saw something, and I was like, told my assistant, reach out to Alecia. She needs to come on the podcast. So I'm so
Yes.
glad you're here. I'm so happy that we have the chance to reconnect and introduce you to my audience who I think has a lot to learn from you. So, for folks that don't know Alecia, Alecia St. Germain is a certified immunity to change coach, host of the Conscious Edge podcast, and founder of the Conscious Edge, a leadership and personal development company focused on empowering women business owners to align what they do for money with what lights them up and serves a higher purpose. You can find Alecia hanging out on Instagram. I think I've seen some of your stuff on Instagram as well, which is fun. And we will share Alecia's socials, where she shares tips, inspiration, and mindset hacks for leading a joyful, purpose-driven, and prosperous life. Joy is my favorite word. I'm really trying to reconnect with that word in recent years because I think for a hot minute I really lost some of my joy. And so I love that that is in your bio. And I know even before we went live, you actually talked about like helping people find kind of their soul purpose in their work.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure we mention that and we can dig into that as well in this conversation. Um, so taking us back, I mean, you don't have to go all the way back. What is it that motivated you or drove you in the direction of the work that you're doing now? Like, how did you find yourself in this world of business coaching? I know you work with a range of folks across industries, but how is it that you landed here?
Well, it's definitely a calling. So I talk a
Mm-hmm.
lot with my clients about finding your calling, but I actually started out as or previous to this, I was in real estate and real estate investing, sharing with others the strategy of real estate investing. And so many people, I worked with a seminar company that taught you strategies, and you came and you sat, and I was the one fulfilling that and actually teaching you how to go out and make money with real estate. And I saw so many people paying tens of thousands of dollars and not doing anything. And so I'm sitting
Oh.
in my office, and this magazine from my gym is there, and I open it up, and it talks about immunity to change and why people, despite their best efforts, cannot change,
Oh,
cannot put anything new.
interesting. What comes to mind for me, I remember reading a book some years ago called Changeology that is like talks about the precursors that have to be in place in order for the change to stick or in order for you to even be successful like attempting to walk across that bridge, right?
Mhm.
Anyways, it's a thing. Like
It is a thing.
there's so many reasons why folks really struggle to make a change. I'd love to hear more because when I read your bio when you first filled out my form and I was like, immunity to change coach. This is so fascinating.
Yeah. So it's highlighting this process, this immunity to change process, which is created by two Harvard professors, Robert Keegan and Lisa Leahy. And it's talking about, why people can't change. And essentially, you have an immune system, right? And our immune system's a beautiful thing. It's there to protect us from viruses and bacteria and all of those things. And just like that, our brain has an immune system. It's there to protect us against things that are dangerous to us and will affect our survival. And so it helps us until it doesn't. And so what happens is when you're young, you get this whole experience of the way the world works and how you exist in it. And so as you become an adult and you try to change things, try to do new behaviors, your situation changes, what you want in this world changes, you're still operating with this old way of protecting yourself. And so you make these things called big assumptions. And big assumptions are essentially if then statements that you don't even know are there. If I am visible, I will be rejected. If I am this, then that.
Right. I
And
think
so,
on
yeah.
that, like a really consistent but hidden one, especially for people trying to up level their business. If I make more money, I'm going to have to work way harder, right? Or,
Yeah. Yeah.
yes.
Or I'll
Yeah.
be a target, or I'll be a snooty person. So it's like, I mean, these are real things that
Uh-huh.
people fight against. And so when your survival or who you are as a person is at risk by the actions that you're taking, you're going to feel something uncomfortable. And then oftentimes we choose some other behavior that relieves that bad feeling. And so I saw this and I was like, oh my gosh, this is why people want to change and can't. So I went
Yeah.
and I got certified. I spent a year and a half getting certified in the process and being coached myself through the process. It was the single best thing I've ever done for my own self in my life.
Amazing. I love that.
And integrated it into my practice and really decided to leave real estate because I knew that these big assumptions, everything anybody wants is just on the other side of a big assumption.
Yeah.
And it's so powerful, and it's such a powerful way to move through it and teach your brain new things. And it's rooted in science. And I always talk about my area, the conscious edge, my business, as the
Uh,
place where modern science and ancient wisdom intersect. So when you
oh,
look
I
at
love that. And I love the name of your business. I really enjoyed that phrase, the conscious edge. Um, is it often surprising to your clients that they have a big assumption they didn't know about?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it's so funny because it's like an example would be, I just the other day I was talking to someone and she was like, I know I need to pick up the phone and contact like warm leads, not even cold calling, like I don't know you, telemarketing, but like people I know. I know I need to pick up the phone. That would be the easiest way for me to grow my business, but I don't do it. And so we started tracking through what were the feelings that were coming
Um,
up for her, and when does she remember feeling that way before. And what we essentially tracked it back to was an experience that she had as a child where girls were making up stories about her and spreading rumors about her, and that fear of not being seen as authentic or someone having
mhm.
a judgment about her if she had lost connection with them was making her
Mm,
not want to pick up the phone. And so she's like, I can't believe this this big assumption about being judged from when I was a kid
is dictating
is
current,
dictating.
yeah, current
Yeah.
events. It's so interesting. And you talked, even the word immunity and talking about your immune system.
Hmm.
Like I've had, even between the time that you and I first connected and now, I've had, my mind kind of exploded in multiple ways in regards to my own journey, my own healing journey, my own mindset work, and how that correlates to everything, including our health. Um, I had this experience where for years as an adult, I was getting cellulitis, which is a bacterial infection under the skin in response to bug bites, mosquito bites. And it also so happened that if there's like 100 people sitting in a backyard, I'm going to be the one that gets eaten, like for whatever reason, mosquitoes have loved me my entire life. Well, it was becoming so distressing because it was this huge rigmarole. I'd have to go on like hardcore antibiotics to treat that level of infection. People know what that does to your gut biome and everything else. And there was a point where I was just like, I felt like I couldn't go outside. I got a spider bite on my chest like 9 days before my daughter was born. And the whole thing about cellulitis is you're not supposed to let the infection travel to your heart, right? And it was like
Right there.
right there, flaming red spreading up my, there were so many times that I was like, what is even happening? Well, it can be the case that when you spend a lot of time looking under rocks in like traditional medicine world and you don't get answers, you end up looking outside of the world of
Mhm.
traditional medicine for some of those answers, which I did. And I ended up intersecting with a doctor who started as a chiropractor and has ended up moving into the space that most people would call like energy healing or quantum healing.
Mhm.
There's a cellular component, but it's way bigger than what you even think. And he did a process with me where he traced this whole bug bite reaction that was wired into my nervous system back to an experience when I was 5 and I went horse riding with my grandfather and I literally got hundreds of mosquito bites as this little person in, shorts and a little t-shirt. And connected to that was an extreme loss of joy. I went from like having a joyful experience to a really dramatic fever, almost ending up in the hospital. We didn't go to the hospital those days because my parents didn't believe in health insurance. So I was really, really sick and it was dramatic. And my body remembered that. And so,
Mhm.
in response to that, I've always been highly, highly allergic to any kind of bite because my system just goes on high alert. And in my adult life, it just proceeded to get worse. And it would literally cause this bacterial infection. So he did this
Yeah.
process, which is a combination of changing the underlying belief that was wired into your nervous system and doing this whole thing that he developed within 10 minutes. And this was in the middle of an active cellulitis infection on my foot, where I called him so desperate, like, I will do anything not to have to go back on antibiotics. And we were leaving on a trip the next day. He was like, so we did this process over the phone from a distance, not even like touching my physical body. And he goes, please don't do anything. Don't put essential oils on it. I had this whole protocol that I would do to try to keep the infection at bay. He's like, don't do anything. Just let your body do the healing. He's like, you probably won't see much today, but you'll wake up tomorrow and I bet that it will be gone. That took a big leap of faith because anybody who's had a cellulitis infection knows how quickly they can spread. The next morning I woke up. Not only was there no infection, I couldn't even see the bite.
Mm.
And so that was a long story, but the point is like it is literally wired into our nervous system,
Yeah.
right? That is how like essential and core these experiences can be to our survival and our like what is dictated by our own body, not even our minds in the future, right?
Totally.
And it is not until you sometimes have an experience that profound that you realize, like, oh my gosh, what else is running my life that I don't know about that I need to uncover, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's in some things it's like I don't know why it works, but it works.
Yes.
But it works. And we're
That's so
just like,
funny that you say that because I asked him, this doctor that I worked with, I was like, do you have to believe in this for it to be able to work? He's like, no, which was really funny. I was like, oh, swoosh, because I don't even know what's happening. You know what I mean? But
well,
it
and to
worked.
the same respect, just because your conscious doesn't or does believe something doesn't mean your unconscious does
That's
or doesn't
right.
believe something. So
Th-
sometimes it's things you're not even aware of.
Yep.
And so, yeah, a lot of times people are surprised. Sometimes, and often the comment I get is, I thought I already handled this.
Yes. Oh my gosh, how many times I can only imagine how often that comes up. That came up a ton even in my work with this doctor. And to the point about her unconscious, right? He had a way of body testing. Do you actually
Hmm.
believe this? Or, you know what I mean? Is there some resistance there? And he could figure out, no, your nervous system, your unconscious actually believes this. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's fascinating.
It
So
is.
when you have that first big breakthrough with a client where they're like, oh my gosh, talk to us about what you see shift for them. Does it result in greater curiosity around like what else do we need to uncover?
So in the work that I do, you kind of end up with this. one big assumption we decide to work on, but you have
Okay.
multiple. You
Yes.
have many, and you have, and the other thing to realize that even after someone does this work, as you play a bigger game or do things differently,
It might come up again.
it'll come up again,
Yeah.
or a different one will come up because
Yes.
you've expanded your mind, and your growth will only happen to the level in which your mind is comfortable. So you may
Yeah.
have another level to unlock. So this work is never done. I want to be very
Yep.
clear, like it's a practice, and it's
Totally.
constant tending to this mind that you have. But so typically what happens after they see they have this big assumption, a majority of people will really start to question whether it's true or not true. And that's the whole point, is to
Yep.
question, well, is this really true or
Mm-hmm.
not? So they'll oftentimes have some immediate change,
Yeah.
but then they'll find out if they're not tending to it as they go out into the world, they will have a slide back.
It'll creep back. Yep.
Or they'll want to change everything right away, and they have no practice. Like they find out something about delegation, and then they go out and they delegate, and they have no skill for delegation.
Yes.
So there's a skill deficit. And so then they go,
Mm.
oh, see, I'm right. If I give things away to other people and
It
let other
doesn't
people
get
help
done
me.
right.
So
Yep.
we call it's called retruing your assumption. So
Oh.
we really want to, I really encourage people to just spend time with their big assumption,
Mm-hmm.
watching how it plays out in your life, not intentionally changing behavior, but just being aware of it. That starts to help them really be aware of when it's active, when it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And then after a period of time of really getting to know this big assumption that you've been living with, then we will take strategic steps to make careful changes that are set up to unravel it.
Yeah.
And we do it from a place of curiosity and experimentation. So we take a lot of the pressure off of hitting goals. Like people can be really results oriented when it comes to hitting goals. If I hit the
Yeah.
goal, I'm good. If I don't hit the goal, I'm bad.
Yes. So black and white.
So
Um,
we really work to make it more of a curiosity experiment as opposed to being
mm,
attached to the result.
oh, I love that. I was going to say, along with kind of uncovering what, big assumption might be standing in the way, are there other like very frequent blocks that you find get in the way of people being able to successfully make a change?
So besides the big assumptions,
Yeah, besides the big assumptions.
really a lot of it comes back to that.
Yeah.
I can almost find a big assumption in anything that's blocking it. Sometimes I'd say though it could be an out of alignment piece where
Mm,
you're trying to fit into something again because you're supposed to. That comes back to a big assumption because you're supposed
mm,
to, but it's not in alignment with really your soul. And so that's that
ah,
ancient wisdom piece we bring in is, what is it that something's been whispering to you, something you're called to do, something you used to love to do as a child, or you have an innate skill for, and you're trying to make yourself fit because you should, and
mm,
you don't know, how will I make money doing that? Nobody wants that. Why would somebody pay me for that? All of those things are
mhm,
big assumptions, but looking at the spiritual side of things of where do you feel called to be, that's why I use them together.
mhm, mhm. How did you begin in your work? At what point did you recognize that you were actually helping people focus on that deep soul purpose?
So I didn't know it was sole purpose before this,
Hmm.
but I would share my own experience. I went through a period of time shortly after having my children. I was still I was certified already as a coach, but I was still teaching real estate. I was doing it online for another company, and I was doing it at night from like
Mm,
10 p.m. to 1 a.m. I'm on Eastern time zone. And my daughter was having night terrors, and I could hear her literally screaming upstairs. And I love to train and I love to coach people and help people up level. And it was like the first moment I realized I don't want to be doing what I'm doing right now. And so
mm,
often we build this life that sometimes our work doesn't support what we want from life and things need to change. And so I really got clear about taking care of myself. Number one, as a new mom, I was not sleeping a lot. And I know you and I have shared sleep is such a priority and taking care of yourself is such a priority. But being there and being able to pour into the people you love is so important. And then doing meaningful work in the world and everything else that we do in a day, a lot of it's not necessary. It's serving a big assumption.
Yeah.
And so I started moving things out of my life that didn't support those three things, which was
Mm,
myself, my people I love, whether that's clients or family or friends, and my calling, which my calling is really to help people move those blocks, move into a purpose-driven, joyful life where they
mm,
make a difference in the world. And I really believe my whole life I've always stood for kindness.
mm,
And uh, sometimes being kind means being direct and saying things that need to be said. It
mm-hmm.
doesn't mean being nice all the time.
No.
But it's being kind, is being honest and truthful with people. And so I've stood for that, and I believe that this world is a better place when we do that.
Mm-hmm.
So this is my way.
Yep.
So as part of that process, I started this coaching business, and I was like, I wish I could do this, a profile or something. I wish I had a profile I could bring into the coaching work that I'm doing. And I had had a soul purpose reading by this woman, Ariella Indigo. She's amazing. You could certainly, somebody could connect with her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it was so spot on around my gifts and my talents, which is seeing
Mm,
deeply into people very quickly.
mm,
Um, Knowing that wealth and creating abundance was an important piece of it. And being grounded in the earth and caring about people emotionally are just some of the things. But it also talks about challenges, like challenges with how you feel about finances.
mm,
I talk about on my podcast this journey I've had to go on around telling myself I'm not good at numbers and never
mhm,
feeling like I really had a good handle on the finances of my business and the inflow and outflow of money. Well, that's
mhm.
one of the challenges in my profile that is set up. So I said, I wish I could bring this profile in. Gosh, wouldn't it be great if I could have Ariella or something like that? Within, I'm not even kidding you, 4 months, there was this opportunity to be certified in soul purpose readings. And um, I was like, oh my gosh, like how I asked for this,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So I was
Mm.
also I learned and I trained how to do a soul purpose reading, which is based on your name, believe it or not.
Interesting. That's
And
amazing. So, like, if you were to look at is it like maiden name? Is it your current name? What is it?
so it's your birth name.
Your birth name?
And the premise is your name creates a sound, and sound
Oh.
creates reality, creates things. And so based on this ancient Hebrew numerology,
Mm-hmm.
your birth name, God or whatever you believe, God, universe, someone, your
Mm-hmm.
soul whispers your name to
Mm-hmm.
your parents and they name you. And so it's based on your
Mm-hmm.
birth name and then your
Mm-hmm.
overlay name. I think of like your birth name is like chicken, right? It's chicken, and your overlay names, which is your married names or other names you
Uh-huh.
go by, is the
Mm-hmm.
seasoning.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes you put seasoning on chicken, it tastes amazing and it's wonderful and it all jives together and it's great. Sometimes you put seasoning on chicken, it's not so great. So sometimes we end up with names on our overlay names that make life a little more challenging.
Mm.
But all of that is
Interesting.
perfectly set up to teach you things
Yeah.
and show you things and show you the way. So that's a spiritual piece that we bring in with the science piece that they really meld together beautifully because your soul's been speaking to you about what it is
Mm-hmm.
you're to be doing,
Yeah.
but your life experience has maybe told you you can't, or
Right.
that's not how
Oh,
it works.
oh yeah. How many people do you find are close, like they're in the general direction, but they still don't have something quite right?
I think a majority of people have an aware when we have the soul purpose reading, we have a two-way
Mm-hmm.
conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like aware
Yeah.
and it brings it to their attention and I've always felt that way or I've always thought that, but they just have been denying it.
Yeah.
So it's very confirming for a lot of people. It's clarifying.
Right. It's like
Sometimes
wiping some dirt off your
they're,
glasses.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm in the right direction, but a lot of people find it very validating. Or on occasion, there's things that they're like, oh, I didn't even realize that was linked to what I'm
Oh,
experiencing.
yeah. Yeah.
So, and it's always neat because there's this piece of me that um, I wonder sometimes how much goes with me actually knowing the person because there's a certain amount of like channeling, I'd call it,
Yeah.
like where you're like, you know the premise of it, but then you're connecting to another person's soul.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll have one person who I know, and I'm like, okay, how much of this is me, the human,
Knowing their
knowing them,
energy and their personality. Yeah.
and how
Yeah.
much of this is my actual soul connecting to their soul? And I've had some recent, like really more recently, done some readings on people who I've never met before in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to totally depend on my training and
Yeah.
my gifts.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the most extraordinary conversations. So
Oh,
it was just so powerful.
how fun. How amazing that that's like a distinct process that you can layer over this
Hmm.
other stuff. Um, what do you find is the most favorite piece or pieces of your work when you are going through kind of your various processes with your clients? Are there certain things that you just find are like, make your day? Or what is it that you really love about the work?
I would say that I don't have anything in my work that I don't love.
Mm,
Unless it's like admin stuff. Like
yeah.
I don't love the admin stuff. But when
There's
I am in my work with my clients,
hmm
it's like it's I some people might call it flow.
flow. Yeah.
It's
You're like, whoa, there went an hour very quickly of our time. Yeah.
it's really it's joyful. It fills me up.
Mm,
It's joyful. It's the work that I do.
mm,
It's hard sometimes to sit in the emotions that people have
oh,
because sometimes it can be triggering, the
it's a
work that
lot.
I do.
Yeah.
But but I've done so much to know myself and to know that just because someone's experiencing an uncomfortable emotion does not
Hmm.
mean it doesn't have value.
Yeah.
So I've had to work through a lot of people pleasing. Like, and people pleasing is like when we need other people to be okay and feel good in order for us to be okay.
Oh my gosh. Well, and even you take that lens and I apply that to my parenting journey. Like somewhere in my upbringing, right, the messaging was like, it's not okay to have like the big angry feelings or the ones that are grumpy. We'll just call them like the negative feelings. Of
Hmm.
course, I know as an adult, it's okay to have those feelings, but it's like, I don't want anybody to stay there too long, right?
Hmm.
I've had to really be like, okay, calm down your nervous system. Why is it such a thing when like kids are going at each other or whatever? Like, of course they need the practice doing that. And like there's a lot of self-talk that has to happen for me as a mom to be like, okay, just calm yourself. Other people can do what they need to do.
That was the biggest lesson, I think, is learning that I'm not responsible for other people's feelings.
Yeah, that's right. And that actually, because one of the things that we talk about a lot, especially for kiddos, it's really important for them to have those feelings and express them so that they can actually move
Yeah.
through it. And it's not the experience that so many probably in our generation had of like, we're just gonna skip that feeling and not
Yep.
have it and not express it. And it comes out sideways in all these other ways as an adult, right? So, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a lot of the work that we do is reattaching people's mind, body, feeling, like attaching them back to their feelings because we've been taught that it's wrong. And
Well,
so just like you being talking about like disconnected from joy and losing your joy,
yeah.
when we are taught that we aren't allowed to be angry, we will dampen down the anger in the same degree that we will dampen down the joy. And so you end up just in this even
Yes.
keel, unable to
Mm.
experience things fully.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that feels kind of heavy. But how true. I mean, because anybody that's navigated, there's a cute little song right now, and it's darling because my kids will play it, but it's like uh it's a little voice, and I think there's different iterations of this song. I wish I could remember the exact lyrics, but it's something like, thank you for the good times, thank you for the pain, thank you for the sunshine, thank you for the rain, right? Something like that. It's
Hmm.
this very sweet little voice. And my son was like, why thank you for the pain? And we had this whole discussion around like, you
Hmm.
cannot really appreciate one without the other. And you just
Yeah.
realize, you have to have all of the experience. So that rings really true about people that learn to damp down emotions. It's interesting because my husband is reading a book right now. We continue to be on our personal growth journeys, and both together and separately as distinct humans. And he bought a book that I thought, oh my gosh, how many men need this book? I think it's something like it's all okay. I'm okay. It's something that reflects like this this current status of so many men that do not dig into like what am I actually feeling? And
Hmm.
instead it's just this okayness all the time. And I think again, so I think some of that is just generational because I look
Yeah.
around at the experience of myself, my siblings, and how many of us we're told it's like really just not okay to have certain emotions.
Yeah.
And also how profoundly um I don't know the word I'm looking for, like the profound growth and capacity for all those emotions that you might obtain or get back by being willing to look in those
Yeah.
places that feel hard to look. So that must be really rewarding in your work, even though some of that stuff comes up, to be able to see people increase their capacity.
Yeah, it's a game changer really for
Mm,
people because understand emotions only stay in our body for 90 seconds and then they have to be reaffirmed by a thought. So when you realize I only have to go through a minute and a half of this pain and then I can make a different choice or have a different thought about what I'm
mm,
experiencing, we don't have to be so reactive.
I love that. I love that reframe. Yes. Observe it, allow it, feel it, know that it's not going to be there forever.
And then have a cycle breaking thought.
Yeah,
Like create that. That's
totally.
very powerful for maintaining composure and showing up the way
Mm-hmm.
you want to in the world. And it's not making the feeling wrong that you're having it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can go back later on and be like, why did I have that reaction to
Yeah.
someone?
Oh,
Right?
totally. Totally. It's so good. I know we chatted about your podcast, and so I just want to make sure in our time we talk about the fact that between you and I connecting last time, you've launched a podcast and
Hmm.
you're loving it and it's going really well. I tuned in the other day. You've got a partner on the podcast.
Hmm.
Talk to us a little bit about the evolution of that, how that started and how it's going.
Yeah, so the Conscious Edge podcast, it's really about redefining wealth as a whole human experience. And so my partner,
Mm,
Jonathan Duggar, he's a psychologist by training, but also real estate investor. I met him when we were training real estate seminars. And we have just stayed, we became fast friends, have stayed friends for most of my adult life.
mm,
And we decided we wanted to have a retreat. And so, as we were planning the retreat, we were having these amazing conversations. We have been for years behind closed doors. And I said, you want to start a podcast? And he's like, no, I don't want to start a podcast. That sounds awful. And yes, let's do it. So, we've
oh my
had
gosh.
so much fun just growing through it,
Mhm.
learning to really look within ourselves when we feel like maybe we don't want to say something or just finding our voice. But it's really about this going beyond wealth accumulation and into
Mhm.
the emotional journey that it is to build a business, the how to make it joyful, and really looking at life holistically. I would compare it to the everything that we do really is you're on this journey to a certain destination. You know, people maybe wealth creation, and you have the choice to fly first class and be with all your buddies and have fun, or you have the choice to choose the back of the airplane, middle seat next to the bathroom, surrounded by all your inner critics.
Yeah.
I'm like, how you get there matters. And so much of what I hear in the business world is people want results
Yeah.
and they want the destination. They don't care how you get there. I think people care how they get there because there's a point where I'm not getting on the plane. I'll just stay at home in my cushy house versus that situation.
Yeah.
So it's really about getting you to your destination in a way that feels really good and you're
Hmm.
not so beat up that you have to recover from jet lag by the time you get there.
Ah, it's huge. I remember years ago, I think it was Danielle Laporte's work. I can't remember, but it was that shift of why do we set goals in the first place, right? We think that honestly, it's about we're going to feel a certain way when we get there. We're going to have this experience where the sun is just shinier. We just feel better, right? Whatever it is that we think we're going to feel, because it really is about that feeling of arriving in some way. Like, what can you do to just create that feeling right now? What things
Hmm.
can you add to your life where you're like, oh, it is the journey. It's so true. And yet, as humans, we tend to, left to our own devices, get this so backwards.
Hmm. Yep.
I love
So
that.
that is the purpose. That's what we're all about, and we love doing it. It
Mm.
is so much fun. So I hope you'll come check us out.
Oh, we totally will. I was listening the other day and it was super fun. We'll drop the link. You said it's called the Conscious Edge
Hmm.
podcast. Yeah,
Hmm.
super fun. We'll drop the link over so folks pop over to the show notes. You can find those at legalwebsitewarrior.com/podcast. Look for Alicia St. Germain's episode and you can find the link to her show as well, which will be great. I hope I can send some folks your way. I'm always looking for fun new podcasts to like peek in on and see what people are doing. So I love that. What did you have any funny bumps along the way? I remember what happened when I first launched my podcast because I actually did my own editing for the first handful of shows. I remember somebody telling me it's really good to go through the pain of that because it will actually change the way you do your recording, the way that you think about your pauses. A lot changes when you actually have to dig into the details, but it was like so torturous. I remember listening to those early ones back and being like, oh my gosh, this is really painful. Do you guys have any funny bumps as you started that journey?
I wouldn't say, I don't know. I have a podcast producer. I have from the beginning. I actually had a
Oh,
client who was a podcast producer, and she's like, let me do that. I'm like, yes,
done,
wonderful.
done and
So
done.
I don't have anything funny in
Mhm.
particular in that way, but so often, I would say the one thing that comes up often, if you want a little inside joke, is someone said to me that I say, let's dive in or let's dive into this a lot. So I use dive in a lot. And it's become this joke. And every time I say it, I get like a little bit funny or weird during it. So I've started recording it into my ads and things like that. Just like, I'm just going to go with it. Let's dive in. That's just one of my
Hilarious.
isms.
Oh my gosh. Aren't those things funny? The way that we attach onto certain words and phrases. I actually
Yeah.
love that. That's a great example. Um, Alicia, where do you show up online for folks that are like, I want to pop over and check out Alicia's work. I'm interested in support either with, figuring out the big assumption, digging into their soul purpose as it relates to their work. Where can they find you?
So I'm on at consciousedge.com is where
Mhm.
you'd find my website and all the information. But I also like to hang out at Instagram at Alicia St. G. And if you're like not ready, but you just want to say hi, just DM me. I love to chat with people about whatever's coming up in your world. You will find I am your biggest cheerleader and supporter, and I do believe we're all just on a human experience. So there is no judgment in my world. I mean, people can react or have the most, we were talking about this earlier, everybody's uncertain on a lot of things and things feel scary. And sometimes that manifests as really bad behavior.
Yeah. Oh,
And
totally.
and so I just see everyone in their highest self. And so know
Hmm.
that you are so loved and supported and always welcome in my
Mm.
DMs.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. I do the same. People show up. And I think it's true probably with a lot of advisors that support folks in business with a lot of shame. Like, "Oh, I haven't done this," or "Don't look over here because, blah blah blah." And I'm like, "Look, I'm not here to beat you up. We are all doing the best that we can. I'm here to be like, how do we get you from here to there? How can I make it easier and
Yeah,
faster and better?" So, yeah, I hear you.
absolutely.
I love that. So, folks, pop over again to the show notes. We're going to share Alicia's links to her website, to her podcast, to her socials. And that again is at legalwebsitewarrior.com/podcast. Alicia, what final thought would you like to leave our listeners with?
Mm. I think that everything is unfolding for you perfectly as it should.
Mm,
And whatever challenges you're facing, know that it's happening for you. And there is some gold or some skill or some aha that it's showing you. And just know that you're exactly where you're supposed to be at this moment.
I love that so much. I'm so grateful that we had the chance to reconnect. I'm going to reach out separately because I have a separate thing I'm going to chat with you about. But I hope you'll come back and visit us here. And I look forward to sending some folks your way.
Amazing. Thank you.